All right, welcome to the February 22nd of the Pathways Virtual Support Session. We are going to go over some submitted questions and some questions that came up in our Pathways Guide briefings. We have our webinars, Pathways Guides have webinars twice a week, and so we get a lot of information from there, and the questions that we come up with or the questions that you submit to us and we pass along get added to a master Q&A document. That was started when the rollout occurred, and the master Q&A document now has over 1,020 questions. So I'm glad that we are asking new questions, and I'm glad that there's a resource there to go get a lot of questions. So we are recording, and just as a reminder that we will be on this session for 30 minutes, and if there's a need to continue, we'll go ahead and log off and log back on again, because we are using the free version of Zoom, and they will allow us to go for 40 minutes when there are 3 or more participants. So we'll do that. So we'll do the submitted questions. I'll go over a demo if there's time permitting, and then of course additional questions. But just as the very first one right now is, remember that there is a Basecamp email. If your club has not set up an email that is accessible to the president, vice president of education, and the secretary, make sure you do that as soon as possible, and then go ahead and store that into your club central information as far as that club email. That's also the club email that is used on the Find a Club resource, so you might want to make that email available to your vice president of public relations. Additionally, some people are using that as a club email for all club officers. So that's an option for you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. The Pathways has been with us for almost 10 days, and a couple of questions that came up in some of our recent Pathways Guides briefings, webinars, I thought were helpful to where we are right now. And the first one is, if you buy printed materials, do you also have access to the electronic resources on Basecamp? So the feedback from Toastmasters International is that if you select printed materials, you'll have access to Basecamp and many of the features, but you don't have access to your path or any of the projects. So that's really important, because there is a wealth of material on the path that if you do it electronically, videos and other resources. If you go the printed path, then Toastmasters they are contracting with a printer vendor. They will have to get that printed, sent to you, and all of those access points are not in the printed material. So you do have the printed material in 5 of the 10 paths right now, and they are available in English and 1 or 2 other languages. So just know that you can work within Basecamp, but you cannot access a path within Basecamp if you've chosen the printed materials. And see, the numbers I heard in November were that 62 people of 11,000 people that had gone on to Basecamp and Pathways at that time had chosen printed material. So there's a very small percentage, but Toastmasters is making sure that if that's what you want, that is available to you. And then this other one is, what are the new awards that people get, and what letters replace competent communicator, competent leader, etc.? So in Pathways, the members receive 1 credential next to their name for each level that they complete. So this example here has a person that's in PM3, so that's the Pathways, and they've gone into the 3rd level. And when Suzanne completes level 4, and this is, the PM is Presentation Mastery, not Pathways. If they go to level 4, then that becomes PM4. So it's whatever your path is, and then the level number after that. For anybody who's achieved their Distinguished Toastmaster Award, that term and the Distinguished Toastmaster and then the 3 letters DTM, that will stay through Pathways. And if you've achieved a DTM, then your DTM designation will always be on your name next to that. So if you've achieved that, that's great. Once you achieve that, that's the highest level, and so you will always have that on your identification. So that's something to help a little bit, because people are used to the Advanced Communicator Gold and things like that. So this is a new system, and if some of you are wondering, this is not the first time that Toastmasters International has changed their names. So the competent communicator used to be a competent Toastmaster, which is a CTM. So this is just a different set of letters and numbers that we'll get used to. And as we progress through Pathways, I'm sure it'll become more and more familiar. It's just new lingo. So the next item I wanted to encourage all of you is when we did our briefings with the clubs, we provided a hard copy of the Navigator magazine, I guess is what you call it, the guide. And that was for you to share within amongst your club. The additional aspect on Pathways is that everybody gets the Navigator electronically for themselves. So if you haven't already, please go check out the Navigator, cruise through that. There's a lot of good information on it. And then encourage all of your folks to go ahead and do that as well. It's really important to know what the resources are available to you. And then if you have new members, please make sure that they know about the Navigator, because it's quite valuable. And then some of you are in more than one club. You'll notice here that if you have this little down arrow, like me, I'm in more than one club, you can select that down arrow and it will list all of your clubs that you are in. As a reminder, there's a term called home club. It used to stand for whatever you considered your home club, your core club, maybe the very first club you ever joined, and that was your home club. When Pathways, your home club is nothing more than the club in which you are acting in at that moment. So if you think of it like as a house, you're in the Toastmasters house, but which room are you in? So you might be in the Tumbleweeds Club room, you might be in Albuquerque Weekenders room, you might be in the Taylor Ranch room. So you have to tell the Pathways is which of those rooms you're in the home. So that is really important for your Vice President of Education to see you. Because if somebody selects a home club that is different from, say, you're the Vice President of Education and you're supporting them, then you won't see the activity that they're doing. So if you need to see that, go ahead and ask them, please go ahead and select, say Albuquerque Weekenders as your home club, so that I can go ahead and either accept your level completion or take whatever other action that you would typically do as a Vice President of Education. And one question that's come up in the past, and I'm just going to reiterate it here, is some people have been saying, so what is the new role of Vice President of Education? And really the role itself has not changed, only the how that the role is accomplished has changed. So in the past, you would have signed off on somebody's manual and you would have gotten a copy and either emailed or faxed it in to Toastmasters International. In this case, you don't have to sign anything. It's all done electronically. So the member will click on complete. It'll go to you in as that Basecamp manager. And if you are a club president, vice president of education, or secretary in the club, then you will see below this that there will be login as member as well as login as, Basecamp manager. So you want to know which role that you're signing in as. And if you're signing in as Basecamp manager, then you can go ahead and click complete on that particular level. So it just saves time in the copying, faxing, emailing. It's click a button to let you know, and then click a button to say, yep, I agree, and they can move on. So just as a reminder, that's where that Basecamp manager email comes into play. When somebody completes a level, the Basecamp manager role will receive an email, and that's what's listed on your Club Central. So just as a reminder, if you have your Vice President of Public Relations email there, then when somebody completes a level, that email will go to the Vice President of Public Relations, not to somebody who can go ahead and accept that. So even though they get the email, there's nothing they can do as a Basecamp manager because they're not, their role is not in the Basecamp manager role. So the second one area I wanted to bring attention to is your speech evaluations. So in the current environment, or the traditional environment, I might say, is when we had our manuals, we had to either remember the manual or make a copy of the form or call it up on the computer, just on the questions. Maybe you've already written them out, or on a piece of paper because you're borrowing somebody else's book. And that would be how you would provide the evaluation and document that. So in the Pathways environment, you can get blank evaluation forms here. You can also store your evaluation forms there. So if you go to the speech evaluations, there is an entire page of every single project. Now, it's not the entire project. It's not all of the training, the education, the materials, the videos, any of that. It is strictly the evaluation form. So if somebody is evaluating you and you're doing a Pathways speech and they have not chosen to go into Pathways yet, they're doing that little 2-year transition and taking a little time, you can just go ahead and have them before the meeting say, I'm going to be doing a mentoring project, or I might be doing the ethical leadership, or down below this is, the icebreaker. So you can say, I'm doing such and such speech, and they can go ahead and pull up any one of these, the appropriate evaluation sheet, and they can look at it. Now they can go ahead and store it on their computer, or they can print it, whatever they'd like to do, and they give you the evaluation. Then when they do that, you can choose what you want to do with it. You can store it in paper form, or you can go ahead and either upload it electronically or take a picture and upload it electronically. And that is only for you to see. No one else can update that information. You're the only person that gets to see your evaluations, should you choose to go that route. All right, so that is the end of what I had here today. So I'm going to go ahead and do the stop recording so we can hear if there's any questions that you all have on the phone.